Shabbat shalom, everybody. Yes, it's as you can see by my tie. Let me show you a little bit better picture. It is that time of the year. Happy Hanukkah to everybody. And Hanukkah is especially meaningful this year and timely because what does Hanukkah celebrate? Aside from the idea of the miracle that, the Seleucids came down, the Greeks, they were Greek tribes, and they came down to Judea and they wanted to destroy the Jewish religion. They desecrated the main temple, and when all was said and done, there was only enough oil for one day. So Maccabees, who were the people that fought them, the family, the son of the Hasmonean priest Mattathias, put it in there, and it's going to take another 7-8 days to press some fresh oil, some pure oil for the menorah. Miraculously, the one day's worth of supply of pure oil that they had lasted 8 days, enough for them to get a new supply in there, and thus we have the miracle of Hanukkah. But we also have a victory. The fact that a small group of guerrilla fighters, shock troops, chachalutzim, were able to defeat foreign invaders that wanted to basically destroy the Jewish religion. So Hanukkah is contrasted and compared with Purim. So whereas Purim, Haman, get your groggers out a little early, but you can do it. So Haman wanted to destroy physically the Jewish people. The Seleucids wanted to destroy the Jewish religion. Of course, both of them fail, and hence we have the idea of Hanukkah. Now, we look at this as inspiration for what's going on in Israel. Now, Israel is a small country. It's our small state, our ancestral land in the midst of people that are becoming more and more amenable, more and more friendly. There's different agreements, treaties, with the surrounding Arab countries, but we still are fighting off invaders. Hamas, which instigated the attack. We have Hezbollah to the north, and we have the Houthi rebels in Yemen to the south, all allegedly. I'm going to use the word allegedly, just because so they are Iranian proxies. Iran is really the ones fighting this war. They're doing it with substitutes. But Israel, after a sneak attack, after over 1,200 people were brutally murdered, Israel is going in there and they are succeeding. A lot of people say this is going to take months. Well, months more, means more than one, yes. But for me, I think this is going to be pretty quick. I think this is going to be over very soon. Israel is doing their best to preserve the life of civilians. And, in that way, we have to be proud of our Jewish and Israeli brothers and sisters. Some of them are Arab, yes, and Jews, for what they're doing and the way they are scrupulously attending to human rights, even in the midst of a war. That's who we are as people. That's who we are. So, all right, let's talk about Miketz, this week's portion. How many of you have had situations where things seem pretty dire? It's like everything's gone wrong. You're at the bottom of your life, and you look and you say, why is this happening? God, help me. What can I do? It seems when all is lost. Let's think about Joseph. So here he is, still not really the youngest, but the kind of youngest son of Jacob, the older son of his favorite wife. Remember, Benjamin had been born. He's a baby. He's being cared for because his mother Rachel died in childbirth. So the other woman, they're kind of wives, Zilpah and Bilhah. Interesting that the handmaidens lived longer than Leah and Rachel, right? But they did, and they're helping raise him up. Joseph has earned the ire of his brothers and their jealousy because he's daddy's favorite, sitting at home studying with him when they're out in the fields working for a living. He has these prophetic dreams, and we get the sense that he's kind of lording it over them, and they throw him in a pit, and he is abducted. He's taken to Egypt, sold off as a slave, and that's where we pick up with him in this particular portion. So Joseph has been the chief of staff of one of the viziers, one of the grand ministers of Pharaoh, where he's taking care of his household. He is falsely accused by this guy's wife, and he is sent to prison. And he has impressed people with his ability to tell dreams. So here we open up in this portion with Pharaoh having a couple of dreams. The first dream, 7 round fat cows are swallowed up by 7 gaunt, scraggly cows, 7 plump ears of corn, or ears of, I don't even know if it was corn. I'm not sure if they actually said corn in there, if it was just grain. But anyway, the 7 stalks, plump, ripe stalks, are swallowed up by scraggly stalks that, are just, the type of fruit you wouldn't even give to your animals, or grain that you wouldn't give to your animals. And nobody can interpret it. Now, it's not that they couldn't interpret it, they just didn't have the insight to say, what is this about? So the chief baker, the chief cupbearer, the chief baker was executed. The chief cupbearer remembers Joseph and says, hey, there was this Hebrew, and he was able to correctly predict, the dreams that I and, the baker had. So Pharaoh sends for him, and Joseph accurately predicts that you're going to have 7 years of famine, 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. Let's go into the dream a little bit. So the fact that you had these plump cows and plump stalks of grain or corn shows that there was the 7 years of plenty, though there was seven cows, 7 stalks. And then you had the 7 gaunt cows that swallowed up the fat cows. And you had the 7 stalks that overwhelmed, the plump stalks. And the fact that there was no change, you eat something, what happens? Your stomach gets distended because you got food in there. Not so. So he said, you know what? When that famine comes, it's going to be as if the years of plenty never happened. So we need to store grain for a rainy day. And that's what they did. The 7 years of plenty go by. We have the start of the famine. And there's Joseph, who is now second in command. He's been given a new name, Zappaneth Paneah, means something like giving the food of the land to the people. And he's in charge. Well, switch over to Canaan, where you have Jacob and the brothers, and he's like, I've seen people going back and forth, traders. We're starting to run out of food. Go to Egypt and get some food, because they have it and we don't. So they go there, and they are in the midst, in the court of this grand vizier, of the viceroy, the second in command, the Avrek, the father king, second in command next to Pharaoh, who is in charge of doling out food. He is selling food. Interesting that they collected a tax. They collected extra food as a tax against the people, and now the people have to pay the government for the food that they stored. Such is a monarchy, right? That's the way it is. Okay, so Joseph recognizes the brothers. It's been about 20 years. 2 years in the household of Potiphar, 12 years in jail. And now it's been 7 years of plenty. We're into the famine. So it's been 20 years. And he, of course, has matured from a boy into a man. From 17, he's now in his mid-30s. He's got 2 sons. He's got a wife. He's got a beard. He is decked out like an Egyptian. He is speaking Egyptian. And in come these scraggly Hebrews from Canaan saying, can we have some food? We'd like to buy some food. So Joseph remembers, but he plays with them a little bit. And this is where our triennial portion comes about. He is concerned. He wants to know, these guys just did away with him. They never came looking for him. How do they feel? How's Benjamin, his brother? Has he been substituted? Has Benjamin been substituted for Joseph as Jacob or Israel's favorite now? And now they're jealous of him. So he runs them through this whole scenario. Puts back the money in their pouch, sees if they'll come back, starts questioning them about their father, and says, well, if there's another brother, how do I know you're not spies? Bring me your brother. And of course, Benjamin is, the substitute for Joseph. He's the apple of Jacob's eye. Jacob doesn't want to release him. What happens if something happens to him? Then he's left 2 of his favorite sons from Rachel. So he holds on to Shimon, who was the architect of wanting to get rid of Joseph. And he wants to see how the brothers are. He wants to see if they're feeling remorse and the grief. And they kind of do. They kind of say, well, our father, he's lost his favorite son. And he's starting to see the remorse, the repentance in them. And that's kind of where we leave off here. As they still don't know who he is. They don't know that he is their brother. But remember at the beginning of this, we talked about why do things happen? Look what happens to Joseph. He's daddy's favorite. He has the gift of prophecy, right? He is sold into slavery. He enjoys 2 years of wealth and prestige in the house. Then he has to go to jail. Yeah, it's kind of a white collar jail, but it's still jail. And he's trapped. And now all of a sudden, after all this redemption, he's now second in command of Egypt. So when we think about why things happen to us, let's keep in mind that maybe there's a greater good. Maybe we have to go through trials and tribulations and challenges to get to where we want. I bet you all have a story like that in your life, right? Think about Joseph next time it happens. Okay, happy Hanukkah, Shabbat Shalom. Looking forward to seeing you at our seeing you at the Hanukkah party, and thank you for listening.